Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer, and we are going to give you a preview of the Friday race of the day over at Aqueduct. Free past performances for every race of the day when you head to DRF.com. Here's a look at the field for this one, Mike. And we're going to look at the pace projector in just a second. That'll help set things up a little bit. I mean, there's not that much early speed in this race, especially for a 6 furlong sprint. I think the two horses towards the outside will likely be flashing some of it, but Toxic Gray can, but last effort kind of slow away from the gate. So I don't know how quick they'll be going early in this one.
The pace could be key here for sure. It's not a big field. There's not a ton of early speed in this field, so we'll see how the riders kind of play it. More than anything else, though, Gino, I mean, it is kind of a really well-matched group of six here. I mean, I don't think there's any real standout in this field.
No, and a horse like Crazy Mason kind of on the upswing too, but maybe up against it as far as pace is concerned. Let's look at the projector there from Timeform US. They have Toxic Gray up front, and they have the Icicles up there favoring front runners. So they do project it to be pretty slow. Does anything surprise you with the way they see it up front?
No, it does feel like a good situation for Toxic Gray. Just got a little bit outpaced, I thought, in that most recent start. I still thought he actually ran pretty well in there, but
Yeah.
he's probably best when he's on the lead. He can make it here. Both the 4 and the 6, I believe, are quick enough to be right up close in here. You know, if they're not going fast, I don't think Toxic Gray is going to be, he's not going to be loose in here. The 4 and the 6 will be right up close.
I think you pointed out something that's key. It's a small field. They could really be all looking for that position early on. Let's meet this field here for Aqueduct's 7th race on Friday. It's an optional 62, non-winners of 2. We start with the number 1, Scoot Daddy, who's 88 Beyer top, one of the lower in the field, but he is coming out of a race that was very strong because the winner in that race, Top Gunner, actually earned, I think, a 104 Beyer speed figure winning that day, Mike. So he's exiting one of the strongest races. He's coming off of his first start for the Abreu barn. He did have a little bit of a tight spot and was in a little bit of a tight spot behind horses, lost some positioning, kind of angled out with the brief move up to third at one point. What do you think about him in here?
It's just not an easy spot for him more than
Yeah.
anything else. I mean, he's only won 4 times on dirt. All 4 of his performances on this surface are fine. They're not great, but they're fine. They'll give him some kind of a chance in here, Gino, and they're not going to go as fast early this time as they did in that most recent start where all he could do was chase a really, really sharp horse, and he just wasn't good enough. Does he fit better in here? He probably does, but this isn't an easy spot for him.
No. Right next door feels like one of the longer shots in the field. Dangerous Ride, who's been facing lower level claimers, 25,000, 32,000, 0 for 9, 0 for the last 9 against softer company, and now is moving into a barn. I don't think that has won a race in the last couple years. So feel like this one's probably a big long shot in here, Mike.
Yeah, won't be surprised to see. Listen, maybe these new connections take a look here off the claim, see the field, and elect a scratch. He looks like he's in really, really tough.
Crazy Mason, I think, fits well with this group at the class level. He's third start of the form cycle. He's now a newly turned 4-year-old, so he'll just be making his second start at 4. He's proven at Aqueduct. I mean, you go through to his races too. I think he fits pretty well. My major concern with him in this race, Mike, would be he's just not all that fast early on. And if he's a little bit too far behind and the others just have, the jump on him, they could get a tactical advantage. So I kind of went back and forth with him, but I do like his overall form, and I like the form that he's in. It just might be a better race, 1 or 2 down the line where he gets more pace to run at.
Yeah, an upside horse for sure, and he's third off the layoff now too. This is his most recent start, and I would just point out he runs really well in here, Gino. This is a race that got really competitive in front of him. He's going to come from last. This is also a great ride from Chris Elliott, the 5-pound bug. He never got off the inside. He always found room for this horse. He's going to close up here at the end and get the job done. This is a really good performance, another move in the right direction for this horse, and he still has forward to go, in my opinion. But as you've already alluded to, we already saw that pace projector. The dynamics of this race could really work against him.
I mean, he's faced nice horses. They've always thought pretty highly of this horse. He faced Dornick, Domestic Product. He was entered in the Sam F. Davis in the Tampa Bay Derby. So they've always had, high hopes for this one. And we saw a pretty good performance last time, but does he get the race shape? As we move to the 4, Mike, I thought this horse could be a little interesting in here just from a value-based standpoint because some of his better races would actually fit pretty well. He is 0 for his last 9. His last couple races have been for Dutrow, but he's making his second start back after a long layoff. I think he was off for for about 6 months. Now he's back. And I'm just wondering, can he be the type of horse who can like sit second or third and maybe get a really nice trip in here and a jump on some? Feel like they have a little versatility with him, and he could get a good trip in here. What do you think about Spun in One?
Yeah, I think about him exactly the way that you just sort of laid out, Gene. I do think he can get the right trip in here and make himself really, really competitive. Obviously, things just haven't gone well since Dutcher claimed this horse last May, and I don't know what the issues are. But listen, he missed time out of the race they claimed him from. When he came back for one start in July, he did not run well at Monmouth. He missed more time after that. So obviously things haven't gone well for this new purchase. But listen, he just felt like a horse who really needed that start off the layoff last time. They rated him. Lost a little position early, did some chasing, got really tired through the stretch. Seemed like he really needed that start. I'm expecting him to really move forward in here.
Me too. And that was a race where there was no passing too. So you mentioned he gets shuffled back a little bit. It's his first start off the layoff. And then it's not the race shape that he needs. He's a little too farther back than he would like. I think he fits well and could offer you some value if he's like 6-1-ish or above in this field. And I think we had him around 8-1. Toxic Gray, just one for the last 9, Mike, comes off a race where he had a slowish start. It was about 3 lengths off. Then he moved up to second, about a length off. He took a big shot at King Angelo, who was the winner that day. We see him in a lot of the running lines for the foes in this race here. And he makes a lot of sense for a horse who's probably one of the most naturally quick in here. And he's just solid at this level. So, I mean, I can understand anyone that thinks he's a player. He just might not be, from a betting standpoint, worth betting at 2-1 or below.
Yeah, it seems like he's probably going to be one of the shorter prices in here, and probably deservedly so. I mean, his overall form is good. I'll be honest, early on in his career, I had a really tough time getting a handle on this horse. He had run some really big races, but I was never completely sold on him. He's come back in the last, 3 or 4 or 5 months. He's come back in really good form. He's gotten faster. He has shown that he can, use his speed and use it effectively early on. He was comfortable sitting off the pace. He's shown this year you can just send him and he'll run a really big performance. I know his buyer, I don't care about the Gravesend two-back. I know his buyer really dipped last time down to a 78. I thought he ran pretty well in there. I mean, he did a lot of chasing in there. He got a little tired at the end, but I just thought he did a lot of hard work and ran better than the buyer would make it seem, I think.
And a little different than the running line would see, because he did kind of have that slowish start. He had to move up. He wasn't quick away. It was a little different than what we've seen from him. I agree with you. I did think he ran well. He's like a measuring stick for this race and for this field. I feel like Victory Way will round things out. He's going to make his 3rd start after a 15.5-month layoff. He is grade 3 placed. He lost to a horse most recently named Yo Daddy, who has won 3 of his last 4. And in that race, he was kept wide. He was up to 30. He was in between horses. Then he was 3 deep before. He just wasn't in a very comfortable spot for a lot of that race, Mike. And he was all in early. And then the race fell apart. The horses who were battling up front, they ended up finishing 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that race, when he was up front pushing and wide and in between, kind of fell apart. This could be a totally different scenario in a smaller field, drawn well if they get aggressive with him.
Have nothing to add to that. I thought he ran really, really well last time. Did not get a great trip in that race, but did a lot of hard work in there and only got tired in the very late stages. I also thought he ran really well 2 starts back. First time off of a really long layoff. That was a good performance. This horse shaped with a lot of potential early on. He's run well, and both of his starts back from the long layoff. Really like this spot for him.
Let's move to selections for the Friday race of the day, Mike. How do you want to stack him up in here?
I'm just going to take Victory Away here. I realize he's the morning line favorite, and I'm not, going to sit here and advocate too hard for a short price. I think this horse is good, and I think he's in the right spot here.
Yeah, we have the same horses, just in a slightly different order. I'll put the value of Spun in One on top, but we kind of really seem to agree on a lot of the way we think the race could shape up. So however you're playing them on Friday, we wish you the best of luck. Get to DRF.com for those free past performances.